Christian.
Just a moment. The participants are just entering. So we'll give it a minute. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome you very warmly to this webinar on developing pellet production in Central and South America. My name is Christian Rakosch. I'm president of the World Bioenergy Association. And we are organizing these webinars in order to create a global audience for the promise and the real-world experiences with implementing modern bioenergy. We have a number of distinguished guests in this session today that will report to us on what is going on in Latin America. Overall, in Latin America, 6 countries are already producing pellets: Chile, Argentina, Brazil, but also Colombia, Mexico, and Uruguay. And the biggest producer, Brazil, is already producing 1.3 million tons of pellets. So the pellet economy has started in South America, and I think it is bound to further expand, and that's why this is an interesting point in time to look at what is happening there. With this said, I'm going to hand over to Alejandra Leon, our project officer, to shortly introduce our webinar series and the World Bioenergy Association to you, and then we'll head for the presentations. Alejandra.
Thank you, Christian. Hi, everyone. And this webinar is the 3rd webinar of our autumn series that, in collaboration with Bioenergy International, we have organized 4 webinars. And this is the 3rd one of our series. In our past webinars, we have had more than 1,700 registrants from more than 100 different countries. Remember that all the recordings and presentations from our previous webinars and from this webinar will be available on our website. And that you can ask your questions through the chat box, and it will be answered during this session. So a few words about the World Bioenergy Association. It was established in 2008, and it is a global industry association based in Stockholm. Our mission is to promote the sustainable development of our bioenergy, and we aim to do international advocacy for the deployment of sustainable bioenergy and to be a platform for engagement for our different members, covering solid, liquid, and gaseous fuels, represented by fuel producers, utilities, research institutions, etc. Currently, we have around 60 members among associations and companies around the globe. And remember that if you want to join us, the membership is open for all the companies and associations within the field of bioenergy. As a member, you will have different benefits. You will be able to participate as a speaker at different bioenergy events like this one. You will be joining the WBA delegations to different forums like the COP28, for example, next month. You will have member publications. You will be able to participate in working groups to discuss different bioenergy challenges and to support advocacy for sustainable bioenergy in different levels. So as I mentioned before, all the registrants will receive the video recording of this webinar, all the presentations from today, and a link to join us as a member. So without further ado, Christian, please start moderating this session. Thank you. You're muted, Christian.
Sorry. Thank you very much, Alejandra. And with that, we'll kick it off now. And our first country that we are going to look at is Mexico. And I welcome Oscar Espinosa. He's entrepreneur and developing pellet projects in Mexico. The floor is yours, Oscar.
Thank you very much, Christian. Thank you very much to the World Bioenergy Association for having me here speak with you. about the overview of Mexico. I'm going to share my screen. Right. They're just confirming that you can see my screen?
Yes.
Excellent then. Well, I wanted to start with an overview about what's happening in Mexico regarding energy production. And as we can see here, the renewable energy matrix in Mexico, although it's been growing, it has still a very little share of renewable energy in our country. That's 15% of the primary energy production in our country comes from renewable energies. And from these 15%, we can see that biomass plays a smaller still role. We are accounting for 4.78 of biomass. And normally, when you see this number, what you would see in Mexico is that the use of biomass would be traditional uses of biomass. Mostly, the most share of used biomass, it's wood for rural communities, cooking and heating with wood, traditional use of wood, and also cane bagasse that's been used since some years from now in the sugarcane in the sugar industry as a fuel for the production process. So as you can see in Mexico, we have very small share of biomass in the primary energy production. But if we see the consumption, the energy consumption in our country, you can see what I was telling here before. You can see in the domestic sector, we can see a use of woody biomass at 24.6% of the total of energy consumption in the domestic sector. And regarding the industrial sector, what you can see, it's a participation of 4.21% of cane bagasse in the whole energy consumption matrix in the country. So that being said, Mexico has a very, very wide opportunity regarding use of biomass, and both processed biomass in solid biofuels like pellets. We are producing Pellet Mexico. I will introduce a little bit of our company afterwards. But what you can see is that still, the pellet production projects in Mexico are very, very few ones. We have three. Right now, we have three companies that are producing pellet products in the country. And well, as you can see, Pellet Mexico will have an installed capacity of 15,000 tons per year from 2024 forwards. And the other producers like Todo Pellet, they are producing like 1,200 tons per year. And for the pellet in Chihuahua, which is producing 3,000 tons per year. Pellet Valle de Bravo is one of our facilities in the state of Mexico, and Pellet Chihuahua is the other facility in the north part of Mexico. So you can see here the different locations of the projects. Mainly what you would see is that you'll find projects in the center part of Mexico. It's called, that region's called El Bajío, which involves Guanajuato, Irapuato, Querétaro, big industrial area. And there in Irapuato and Guanajuato, there's two small pellet production facilities. Then you'll find in Arandas, Jalisco. So that's in the state of Jalisco. You will find another facility of another small facility of pellet production, and in the state of Mexico, as I already mentioned, and Chihuahua, which are Pellet Mexico's facilities. What I would say right now is what about the types of the feedstocks that are being used for pellet production? Normally what we're doing in Mexico at this very small scale yet, it's wood pellet production. Although in Arandas, there has been a lot of efforts to use agave bagasse as a primary feedstock for producing pellets. As well in Veracruz, where we have produced, in a pilot project till date, bamboo pellets and rice husk pellets. But that would say a little bit more about. I would say a little bit more about the feedstock just in the coming slides. What about the marketplace? How could we project a market in Mexico? What would it look like? So if we would look only at theoretical replacement of LP gas and diesel oil in this consumption matrix for the industrial, hospitality, and domestic sectors, we would need 22 million tons pellets per year to substitute that energy consumption in those three sectors. That would be a total available market value of 4.8 billion. If we would only substitute the national consumption of LP gas and diesel in the industrial sector, we would still need like around 4 million tons of pellets per year. So that would be a market value of 1 billion US. And in Pellet Mexico, we have a project in the next 6 to 8 years. We wanna reach a capacity of production of 150,000 tons per year, and that would only mean 0.6% of the total available market. So you can see the huge opportunity in terms of energy demand in Mexico that could be covered by a sustainable use of biomass and pellets. So what's the, as you can, I wanted just to introduce also, I don't have to say much about the global context and the challenge in our combat against climate change and the processes of decarbonization that have been going on to reach a net zero target for 2050. What we'll see in Mexico is that Mexico's biomass energy potential, it's 1,600 petajoules. And that's an evaluation that had been that was done, an assessment that was done combining both the sustainable use of forestry and the residual biomass from the different productive circles and productive processes in our country. So what we can see here is that we have a very big market opportunity as well as a very more pressing environmental need. And Pellet Mexico, it's the company that we founded in 2016 that has been developing the whole value chain to develop a pellet production market for the internal consumption market in our country. So what we do is we take advantage of this agricultural, forest, and organic waste to generate this renewable source of energy within a circular economy model in which we mitigate the negative impacts of a bad residue management. We eliminate or mitigate also the dependence on fossil fuels. As you could see on my first slide, the dependence on fossil fuels in Mexico is still it has a big share. And that way we promote a more cleaner energy matrix. So the solution is, what are we doing in Mexico? We're seeing two solutions developed in the market. The first of them is the biomass from productive processes in Mexico. As you may know, Mexico is a very big agricultural country. Its production of very segments of agricultural production are very, very important, both for market internal consumption and for exports. What are we seeing now? We're seeing that there's some agricultural systems, productive systems, that could harness the biomass potential of its residues. Avocado, solid pit, avocado pit, mango pit, also straw from maize, from corn and from trigo. We also have agave bagasse, which is the tequila sector in Mexico has been growing very, very importantly. Palm raquis, we have also a very important palm oil industry. And if we observe all these productive systems, agricultural productive systems, we can see that there's a very, very huge potential for biomass in our country, to use that biomass as a result of the processes involved for the demand, the regional energy demand of those productive processes as well. And on the other side, we have the pellet production process that we are starting in Mexico under a regional model in which we analyze the availability of biomasses in the country. We partner with local producers or with companies that own these residues, and we invite them to invest in a pellet production mill in these different regions. Once that the mill it's active, we do a regional commercial strategy in which we substitute in a circle, in a radius of 150 to 200 kilometers. We try to substitute the energetic demand, mostly to substitute, as I told you, LP gas and diesel oil fuels. And that way, we are building a B2B market for pellet consumption in our country. We are developing the clients mostly in the industrial sector, and we deliver them three great advantages. No, the first one is to use a renewable source of energy. Second one, it's to mitigate CO2 emissions from industrial processes. And third one, we could cut costs around 20% regarding LP gas and around 40% regarding diesel oil. No, so right now, Pellet Mexico has invested $2.3 million in its projects. We will have, as I told you, a installed capacity of 50,000 tons for the next year. And in the long-term scenario, what we're seeing is a move from pine pellet assets, that's Valle de Bravo, Chihuahua, Jalisco, till we arrive to 50,000, and then a move to ample the feedstocks that we could use to produce pellets, no? With the mango production process sector, avocado production, and palm rachis, no? Which we could harvest a lot from the southeast part of our country. So that's mostly our project, no? These 4 assets of pine pellets, then scale, no? Both our model to Mexico regional, sub-regional markets, and Latin America, and finally start and be part of the export market, which is also growing at an important rate. So that's us. That's Pellet Mexico. That's what's happening in our country. I hope this view, this overview, no, it's interesting, and you have there my email and my contact details for everything that you will need. Thank you very much, Christian. Thank you very much to the World Bioenergy Association for having us in this webinar.
Thank you so much, Oscar. Just one short little question. What are typical industrial users of biomass that you have kind of acquired as customers? Because I think developing the supply side is not possible without developing the demand side. And that's the difficult thing of bringing pellets to a country where they have not been yet. So you have been through this challenge over several years. What were the most kind of promising customers where you were most successful in convincing them to change to pellets?
Yes, I would say that the food production industry, it's a very interesting market right now in our country, both because they have already established their decarbonization targets and their CO2 mitigation, emissions mitigation strategies. So what we're seeing right now is that there's a lot of residue in that industry, of course, that could be used as energy source. So what we're seeing right now, mostly in the industrial sector, food production, textile industry, fruit production and processing, I mean, textile industry, and also some part of certain heavy industries, no, like cement and mining, are looking at biomass as an interesting option at a bigger scale. No, also companies that do beverages, no, like Heineken, for example, no, is looking at opportunities in biomass. Nestlé is looking at opportunities in biomass in our country. big tequila companies like Cuervo are also looking at biomass as potential for the substitution of their fossil fuel dependency.
Thank you very much, Oscar. It's very interesting what you're reporting, because that applies not only to Mexico. These big international corporations that are acting on a global scale, they are good potential users of bioenergy in many countries because they have a policy of getting out of fossil fuels. They have a decarbonization policy, unlike many regional or local industries. With this, please unshare your screen, Oscar, and I would like to hand the floor over to Rodrigo Orion. He is the president of the Chilean Biomass Association, and he will report to us how pellet production, pellet use are proceeding in Chile. Rodrigo, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Christian. Hello, everybody. Good morning to the Latin American people, and good afternoon to the European, and good night to the Asian participants. Can you see my screen?
Yes, you still need to.
Okay.
Now it's perfect.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. It's an honor for us to be presenting here and to show what we have done here about the pellet production and the development of the pellet market. The topics that we include on this presentation are first a brief statistics review about the Chilean market. Second, we would like to share with you some public policies that we have worked on related to the bioenergy and wood pellets market. Then to share with you our main conclusion about this topic. And of course, we would like to talk about a little bit about HBM because we consider it relevant to invite you to work with us. Well, sorry for the resolution of this slide, but I just added because Oscar also include the general overview of the biomass participation. So it is important to say that the biomass in Chile is the 25% of the primary energy source. Is just a little bit behind the diesel. So it represents a 25% of the matrix of the primary energy source, a 70% on the secondary energy source. And it's very important to say that it represents the 70% of the renewable energy. The problem is that it's not commonly known. It has a bad reputation caused by the bad use of firewood. We have a huge problem of contamination in the south cities of Chile because of the bad use of firewood, in not certified firewood, and use it improperly in old equipments and inefficient equipments. And also there is a confusion with the deforestation and not sustainable use of this fuel. Well, as I said, sorry for the Spanish graph, but we have 70% of biomass in the participation of the renewable energy, and 77 of this 70% is used on a modern way for electricity and industrial purpose and pellet production. 2% is geothermal, 6% is solar, 4% is wind, and 17% is hydro. Okay, now why? Okay, let's talk about pellets. This graph shows the production evolution and sales evolution since 2018. We can see that during this period, the production of sales has doubled. Okay, we start in 2018 with a level of about 120,000 tons, and now we are reaching the 2035 million tons. So it is a very relevant increase. It is important to talk to mention that in the year 2020 and 2022, we have and we were out of stocks. This was caused mainly in the year 2020 because it was a huge increase on the demand, a 31% in the increase on the total demand. But if we consider in the peak season, it was more than 40% the increase on the demand. Remember that we were closed because of the pandemic, so people need more energy. Even that the increase on the production was very, very good, and the was not so catastrophic as you may think because of this increment. And in the year 2022, we also have almost 9% of increment on the demand, and we have a reduction on the production because we have a lack of dry raw material that was mainly caused by the reduction of the sawmill production. So in that moment, the pellet producers also start implementing new technologies and like dryers and also new kind of threshers or chipping equipment. So to be able to use other kind of biomass like whole trees, and also to dry wet biomass that is available. Today we can say that local demand can be guaranteed. We have a surplus. We consider that in the year 2024 we will have a surplus between 10,000 tons and 30,000 tons, with a relevant exceeding capacity. We're going to see now the production capacity. This graph shows in the left side the tons per year for installed capacity and also for production. The installed capacity are the blue bars, and the production are these brown bars. And on the right axis, vertical axis, you can see the utilized capacity. So you may see that it's quite an exponential growth of the production since 2016 and the projection to 2024. And it is a bigger increment rate in the installed capacity, especially on the years, the period 2019 and 2021. And you may say, wow, why, if you increment in those levels the capacity, why you were out of stocks? The thing is that some of the most relevant mills that were installed on the 2019 start operating at the end of the year. Okay, so that was one of the causes of the lack of stock. How is the sales distributed in the market? About 94% is for domiciliary purpose. Then the institution have a 4% of the market, and industrial purpose is 2%. We are focused in promoting the use of pellets, not only in domiciliary market and also in industrial. Just the same, we want to promote the same trend that Oscar was saying, in order to increase the demand from the industrial purpose market. Which are the public policies that we have participated and also that were developed not only with us? In the year 2015, it was elaborated an energy policy that promotes an energy transition for renewable energy and considers the bioenergy as a part of it. And this is very important. Even it is incredible, but even that we are the main renewable energy and almost the main renewable energy source, just in November of 2022, the solid biofuels were recognized by law. So that means that some new steps have to be implemented, focus in regulations and assure the quality of the biofuels. That will be the implementation of the standards will start in the second half of 2023 and will be mainly focused on the firewood and wood pellets. This is a very good exercise that the government, the state, start promoting and subsidizing substitutions of contaminant and inefficient equipment, domiciliary equipment, stoves, to cleaner and more efficient equipment. This program has changed more than 50,000 equipments by the state until 2023. And from the private sector has been a demand of 2 times this amount of equipment. So we're talking that in Chile, we have about 150,000 pellet stoves. 70% of chosen equipments were pellet stoves. That is very relevant. The people were very, very happy with this change. This change make a remarkable reduction on the particulate material emissions and also consumer satisfaction with the savings and comfort achieved by using pellets. So this, I think, is a very, very good example to be promoted with local authorities worldwide in order to promote the biomass use. Well, some conclusions. Pellet production has proved to be crucial on pollution reduction on the cities and also for decarbonizing the energy matrix. Pellet suppliers has adapted their supply chain and productive process to avoid new stockouts. That it really was a really turbulent period that create some bad reputation, but I think that the compromise of our producers was very, very good, and that is going to be part of the past. Today, installed capacity is much higher than local consumption, so this means that there is an open possibility for exporting pellets. So we make a call to international potential customers. We invite you to start talking with our producers. And also there's a very good perception of wood pellets by the consumers. As I said, with the turbulence caused by the stockout during some abnormal behavior of the market and supply chain. I would like to say some words about our association. Atbiom was established at the end of 2016 and started operation on 2017. Was started by 2 members. Today we have more than 45. The pellet capacity involved 90% of Chilean production. What I say, the members of HBIOM, the pellet producer members, represent more than 90% of Chilean production. What type of members do we have that are locals and international members? Biofuel producers, mainly pellets and hog fuels for industrial use. Technology representatives for biofuels and energy productions, since stoves for domiciliary use until heat and power plants. We have ESCO for institution and industrial market, research and development, certification organisms, academy, biogas producers. Main actions of HBIOM. We have become the main representative of the sector in front of private and public sector. Like in public area, we work with the Ministry of Energy, Agriculture, and Environment. In the private, we are working together with all the forestry and industrial and energy associations. Internationally actions, we are board members on the WBA. some participation on specific and relevant committees and laws definitions. As I mentioned before, we were part of the National Energy Policy 2050, Forestry National Policy 2015-2035. We are involved in the development of air quality policies, also in local standards of biofuels committees associated to ISO 238, the international committee. We are member of a Senate commission that is called Chile Sustainable Forestry, where we are promoting the general use of forest and forest products as an crucial engine for the bioeconomy, among other activities. Our invitation, we invite you to become a member and work together on the promotion and development of bioenergy as a sustainable and renewable source of energy that, as I said, we consider a crucial element to achieve a bioeconomy. Here you may see our contact information. You may go to our website or through our social network, Instagram, LinkedIn, and others. And Antonio Minte is our general manager. You may see there the email and his mobile phone. Please feel free. You are really invited to work with us and become a member. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. That was a very interesting view in what is going on in the Chilean pellet sector. Two short questions from my side. You were mentioning that 94% of pellets produced in Chile are used in domestic homes, in stoves. Could you specify, are you talking about stoves that are also cooking or stoves that are producing only hot air? Or are you talking about boilers that are producing hot water for central heating systems?
Yes, it's a very good question. No, it is mainly for hot air stoves. Hot air stove. We're promoting the use of cooking also because in the south of Chile, there is a big consumption of firewood for cooking that cause a very, very high particular material emissions. So just changing to stoves is not enough. So it's a very good question, and we think that we should also push to increment the cooking, the use of pellets for cooking.
And are there already products on the market for pellet cooking in Chile?
Yes, we have, but it's not massively distributed and implemented.
There was a question from our audience. How does burning pellets compare to burning fossil fuels? Burning almost anything releases carbon. What would you answer to this question?
Well, I think that it's important to have a proper analysis of the supply chain in terms of the emissions involved in all the logistics. But if we analyze the use of biomass from the forestry sector, instead of losing all those biomass residues, using it for replacing fossil fuels and on the use of a modern use of biomass, I think should not be a problem. I have no doubt that it's a good use of it. The biomass will decompose and start contaminating if we don't use it.
Exactly. I think that's the key answer. If you don't use the biomass, the CO2 will be emitted anyways. So if you use it, you do not emit the CO2 from the fossil fuels and are able to valorate what you have in terms of residues. Thank you very much. And with this, let's proceed to our next speaker. And our next speaker, Nicolas Boiseau. He is speaking for Andritz, a globally operating company that is producing pellet mills. Nicolas, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Hello to all. So do you hear me well?
Yes, we hear you properly.
Perfect. I will share the presentation. Hello to all. So my name is Nicolas Bouziot. I'm French and I'm working as a technology manager for Andritz Finland Biofuel. I will, if you allow me, quickly introduce the company just really in the shortest way until I go to the point. Andritz is a big company from Austria, making approximately, let's say, 10 billion turnover a year. We are separated in 4 main divisions. Why I go through that is to show you the first one, which is the biggest one, which is pulp and paper. So Andritz is a big solution and technology operator in cellulose pulp. And I guess it's maybe ringing this name to some of the people acting in cellulose. I can name, for example, the last biggest cellulose project in Brazil, in Suzano, or my colleague from Chile. I think if I name Arauco, it's ringing something to him as well. So we have, let's say, extensive experience in the world of the wood and forestry and cellulose. Andritz, it's a global organization. We are more or less, I think, 40,000 people. Within feed and biofuel, that is more acting in the pellet sectors. You can see the location that we have worldwide. And if I go specifically to Latin America, we have offices with service and engineers and sales organizations that are located in Mexico, in Chile, in Brazil, but as well also a number of partners that are covering the rest of South America. What are we doing within Andritz? Feed and biofuel, we are providing solutions that allow to go from, let's say, the inlet of the raw material to the finalized pellet, wood pellet. This is what I want to speak about. I want to split a little bit the case, giving you some example of what could be a project to make pellets in Latin America, because you will see that I have made some segmentation to show what could be the interest, what could be the raw material. I think it's the inlet. This is really important to understand what is available. And fortunately, there are a lot of raw material available in South America. And who could be the end customer? It's really important to understand those 2 points. What do we have? What we can do? Who will buy it? Where it can be used? And in the middle, there is always a solution that can be found. I also take the opportunity to tell you that we are also one of the main manufacturers of consumable for making pellets worldwide. So I will go through that, and I will end up to see also what could be the future of biomass to go to energy. The raw material, I was speaking about that. Really important to understand what do we have. Usually, we are speaking a lot about the wood and forest residue. So obviously, wood could be logs, but it could be also wood chips that can be wet or dry. It could be sawmill residues, means sawdust. It means shavings. And it can be also logging residue. It means that when we are working the logs, we end up with some waste, and this is really important to get let's say a use of this and not to lose it. Then after, you have also some other product that I will quickly go through because it's an extensive let's say topic. But you have also available agri residue. It can be rice straw, it can be husk, it can be straw, it can be bagasse. My colleague from Mexico spoke about bagasse. It's also definitely in South America a topic. And if I go after on the left side, you have also what is related to energy crops. When you see froth, it's a manure. It's also an energy that is available from a residue from animal breeding, but also what we can see, main raw materials that you can see in South America, it's obviously eucalyptus, that is the main resources for the cellulose, the big cellulose plant that I have spoke a little bit earlier, and also pine, that is obviously one of the, let's say, the gold mine that is still available over here in South America, and where I think there is a huge potential for some next development in a close future. What I want I have split a little bit what could be the business case for people who want to start to make some pellets. The first options, it's the easiest one, is obviously to have some dry fiber. What is a dry fiber? It's a sawdust or a shaving that we have from an existing wood transformation activity. It can be somebody who is making some furniture or making some pallet production or whatever, and you have this dry material available. This dry material can be easily converted to pellet through a step of grinding, pelleting, cooling, and let's say packaging. It requires really limited, let's say, investment. I have shown, for example, a kind of a small modular line that can be easily installed internally. Who are typically the customer is definitely a local market. And I was listening to, for example, to my colleague from Chile, Rodrigo. I was in Chile last week. I can tell you that's definitely the kind of customers that have already an activity and who has those small production because they have this product, this raw material available, easily pelletizable, and it makes some installation that can go from 2 tons to, let's say, 4 tons per hour. And this is definitely an interesting topic. It's also a market that remains local. I have shown some example of in Brazil, by the way. I thank my colleague Eduardo who provide me those pictures. That can be a local heating stove to heat poultry houses. For example, 5% of Brazilian poultry houses are heated with pellets. It can be also, it was just mentioned, it could be for heating stove like in Chile, but you can see that the picture that I show that in São Paulo, you can find also have the pleasure to eat a pizza that has been made with wood pellets. So it's a pretty nice local way to use a residue that is available to convert it to heating or energy source locally as well. It's not really dedicated to go to export or abroad. Second case can be also a dry bale. When I mean by dry bale, it's a straw. It means that it is something that is available as a residue that you can have as a bale, and you want to use it later on to make a pellet. This pellet, I was not really going, will also require a bit more process because you may need to have a process that could be a bit more tricky to handle, and you may need to dry. This is also something that is a little bit more interesting. You go to a more industrial solution in that case. To give you an example of what can be used, I took this example of Drax that is already doing this kind of project. Those typical utilization can go to, for example, to those true pellets, to bedding, for example, for animals. It can go also to a later conversion, and we can see that today in Europe to go, for example, maybe and changing a bit the process to a gas generation, a biogas purpose. So pretty interesting because we have a lot of residue of that case available that we are not using today because they are not the easiest one and none of the top list. Of course, if I go back to the first one, use the nice dry sawdust from pine is, let's say, the sweet cake. Start to be more difficult when we arrive to this kind of raw material. If I go to the next step, let's imagine that you don't have enough dry material, so you have to start to use wet one. What could be wet one? Wet chips of wood, and suddenly you start to go to a more, let's say, industrial solution, means that you will be above 5 tons per hour, up to, let's say, 100,000 tons per year. Let's say that you can make this kind of type of installation. definitely you start to have something that is interesting and can still be used local. I have put some example again from my colleague from Brazil, where you can see some people put a heating solution for heating a hospital. You have a water park where they are heating the swimming pools with wood pellets during the winter. I show you also on the third picture an hotel that is heated with a wood pellet. And finally, on the right, on the left side, you can see also a number of other applications that can be used locally. I want to remind as well that if I take the example of Brazil and I stay like this, only 1/3 of the production that you mentioned, Christian, is remaining in Brazil, and 2/3 are exported and go, let's say, a bit everywhere. It can go to the people that have a policy and are pushed to change and to convert to biomass. Can be Europe, can be Asia, who are really demanding a lot of pellets today, and in the future it will continue. I can give you an example, for example, from France. We have coal plants that will convert. It will be a demand of millions of tons required to just cover those two plants in France. So you can see that, just to give you a kind of scale of size, that's what could be the demand. Make me jump to some example, for example, of what could be an installation of such size. You have some, let's say here for 150,000 tons of eucalyptus, you have 4 pellet mills, for example, start to be, let's say, a reasonable industrial activity. Finally, I go to the last type of project, the big one, where you start with locks. You need to debark to remove the mineral, because we don't like so much the mineral in the pellet mill. It's going to be really something that can be a challenge in terms of operational cost. You can see that we have then much more process line. Then you start to go on the size of project that can be, let's say, above 200,000 tons a year. It's definitely this type of project that you are going to go to industrial customers that are abroad. You need to have the logistic for transport. We start to see this kind of project popping up in South America. It means why? Because the resources is available. So definitely there will not be thousands of projects like that, but we see them coming. So that's why I wanted to raise that. Okay, today we have already, ongoing project, or let's say in the engineering project, that are coming up with such a size. I show you again some examples that are based out of US for, let's say, a big scale project of this type. Finally, I want also to go a little bit in the next step for the future, but just to remind to the people that we are speaking a lot about wood pellet, which will be the next step for sure. But let's not, it's for, let's say, a kind of a reminder, forget that today, this is what we have as a raw material. So it can be wood residue, can be agri-based residue, waste and recycle. We go through those process steps that are mechanical steps to go here to make, let's say, heated pellet. A lot of other processes are to come to use these resources to make it available for what will be required for the next energy challenge that we will face globally. And definitely Latin America, as usual, a huge potential and resources to attend not only herself, but also a lot of what will be required abroad. Finally, just I think I have kept my 14 minutes. I apologize, I've been a bit through this a bit too quickly. And in any case, you can contact me. Eu posso falar português, hablo castellano también. Then if some people from South America want to contact me, there is no issue with language. This is what I wanted to say, Christian.
Thank you so much, Nicolás. Hablando español es definitivamente una buena cosa en Latinoamérica. Fine, great. Yes, with that, let's move to our next speaker, Forcus Martinez. You're sales manager of another company that is very successful in building pellet plants. Prodesa, floor is yours.
Thank you, Christian. Let me share the screen. So let me know if you're seeing my screen now.
Yes, but we need still the full screen.
Okay. So we're still. There we go.
We still
So-
see the desktop.
Okay, let me do that again then. All right, it should be working now.
Yes, now it's working perfectly.
Okay, very good. So thank you, Christian, for inviting us to participate in this webinar. Thank you, okay, thank you to the World Bioenergy Association. We are Prodesa. Before starting the presentation, I'm going to talk a little bit about who we are and what we do. Prodesa is a company very specialized in the engineering, manufacture, and supply of biomass plants with a very strong focus, like Christian, like you were saying, in pelleting processes and also drying different biomasses for different uses. No. Because we are very focused on these applications and these projects, we need to look for these projects wherever they are. No? So we are a very international company. Our headquarters are in Spain, but we have branch office in Atlanta, where I'm based currently, from which we serve Central America, South America, and North American markets. We have branch office in Southeast Asia for that part of the world, France, also in Baltic countries, and very soon we'll have an office in Brazil also. So I have divided this presentation. Well, just before that, we have three legs of our company. No, turnkey projects where we take care of the whole scope of the project from the beginning to the end. We are also equipment manufacturers, so we can provide pellet mills, hammer mills, dryers, if that's what is required for the project. And we are also very strong in after sales. That's very relevant for the region and for our company. No? So I have divided this presentation in three areas. One of them is wood. The other one is bagasse, because we're seeing a lot of movement in these areas in the region. And the third one is other biomasses. No? So let's start with bagasse. The areas where we see most of the projects is the areas where the bagasse is, no? Which is the areas in green color in my presentation there. Brazil, super big producer, but also Mexico, Central America, a lot of bagasse in that area, Colombia, Peru. So a lot of movement about bagasse. Bagasse is cellulose, hemicellulose, lignin, very important, around 20%. This gives stability to the pellets, acts as a binder. So when it cools down, works as a binder for the wood pellets, very important for the stability. And also very important, ash, where we see that ash is in the range of 1 to 8%, most frequently in between 3 and 5%. This is very different to other biomasses like wood, that is the mainstream, no, where we see more in the range of 1%. And this is very relevant for when you burn them, you're going to generate more ashes that you're going to need to remove from the process, but also when you design the plants, because you're going to have more wearing on your equipment, on dies, rollers, hammer mills, screens. That's going to affect your business plan, because you need to anticipate more operational costs associated to the wearing of these components. No, we will see later on a slide how we design the plants to minimize this effect as much as possible. And with regards to heating value, we are a little bit below wood, but I mean very close to that. No, so we have very good. It's very good product to produce pellets of. So within bagasse, we are seeing two profiles of customers in the region, no? in Central and South America. Places, countries where the price of electric energy is high. Normally, bagasse producers in these countries don't have a big motivation to produce, for instance, pellets out of it, no? Because their main motivation is to burn bagasse to produce electricity. And we're seeing this a lot, no? So if they are able to pre-dry that bagasse instead of burning it directly, That's a benefit for them. They make their cogeneration units more efficient. We have to remember that they are producing electricity to sell to the grid, and on the other side, thermal energy that they use in the sugar mill. So if they can dry their biomass a little bit before burning it, that's beneficial for them. They can be more efficient on the combustion and then have a little bit more feedstock to extend a little bit their production beyond the production months, no? The harvest months. So in this type of projects, belt dryer is a very good combination. We use heat coming directly from the sugar mill. We put the product in a layer of within the dryer. We circulate hot air. We dry the biomass, the bagasse, to the moisture content that is required. For these purposes, normally in the range of 20% is a good, even above that sometimes. We can use hot water, low pressure steam, or hot air from the factory, from the sugar mill, and you don't have operational costs associated to the drying. No? These are different features of the dryers. We can work in between 1 ton per hour and 30 ton per hour of evaporation. Then the second type of regions is where the price of electric energy is low. Then this type of producers of bagasse, they don't have a motivation to produce electricity out of it. No? So they're gonna use their bagasse to burn it and to produce the heat that they need in the sugar mill, obviously, but also all the excess of the bagasse, they will use it in agro-industries to produce compost. It can be sold to pulp and paper. It can be used in animal feed or to produce bagasse pellets. We are currently working in a project that is under manufacturing in Mexico for the production of pellets from bagasse. These pellets can be sold for energy value or for animal feed. This is a standard design for a bagasse wood pellet plant. We have belt dryer like the one we've seen before in my presentation, where we are using the heat coming from the sugar mill. So you don't have operational costs associated to the drying like many other products have, no? Because you have the advantage of the thermal energy in the sugar mill. Then you have a storage area just to make independent the stages and to help to have a very uniform product. And then the screening, very important, to remove as many inorganics as possible. We want to avoid that going downstream the process. So you have a product that is as clean as possible and you reduce the operational cost associated to wearing components. And then hammer mill and pellet mill. This is just belt dryer, the type of storage that we use. We like the horizontal type of storage because it avoids breaching. We can also use vertical storage systems when we have a good particle size. Screening, milling, and pelletizing. No? The other type of product we have divided the presentation in is wood. No? We see a lot of interest from countries like Brazil, Chile. That's from the number of inquiries that we receive and we work in. Those are the ones leading the region, but also Argentina, Uruguay, Mexico are areas where we're seeing a lot of movement. Also countries in Central America, Colombia and Peru, but less frequency, you know, I would say. This is just the standard of wood pellets, industrial, the pellets that are exported to Europe. Ash content, very relevant, below 1.5 when we're talking about I2. Durability parameters in the range of 97, above 97 is the request. Fines, you have to be below 5%. If we're targeting the residential market and not the industrial, ash content is a little bit more permissive. We have more allowance, and durability has also a little bit more allowance. Although generally you don't find allowance on fines because you're going to burn it in stoves or domestic applications. You don't want to have a lot of fines, no? However, most of the times in local, I mean in Central and South America, we find that pellets are not going to be exported. They stay local, no? And they are used for industrial applications or for heating appliances. In this sense, the quality of the pellets are dictated, durability, ash content that are dictated by your buyers, no, and also the feedstock that you have, no, that play a role on it. So that's something also relevant. Why do they stay local? Normally because the logistics and the economics to the port are more difficult, no? Because distances, also ports, sometimes the logistic of the ports is also difficult for exporting, and the freight costs sometimes, depending on the country, is not helping, no? So still a development to be done there for sure. So three typology of plants with regards to wood. Capacities below 2 metric tons per hour generally find a difficult feasibility, no? In our experience, it's difficult to have a pellet plant below 2 metric tons going on. Capacities in between 2 and 5 metric ton per hour. This was also anticipated by my colleague Nicolas before. Capacities in between 2 and 5, I would say even 10 tons per hour. You need to be very efficient in the design of this plant, and because you want to keep capex always under control, no? So that's very important. And then when your capacity is above 5 or 10 metric ton per hour, where you have other requirements, that is going to mean that you have to increase capex proportionally. I will talk a little bit more of this next. So when you are in between 10 metric ton per hour, you need to be very efficient in the design, just to put whatever is essential to keep capex under control. This is an example of this type of plant. We have this is a plant that is going to be fed with wood chips. So we have hammer mill, wet hammer mill, dryer, belt dryer in this case, and the pellet, a pellet box, no, based on one pellet mill. And this, in this case, it's extensible to 2. Pellet box is a model of plant proprietary from Prodesa, where we provide a complete pellet plant after the dryer in 4 40-foot containers. So we have the hammer mill for dry product, the pellet mill, the cooler, the shifter, all integrated in 4 40-foot containers. Then we have a 20-foot container for the MCC room and one other for the control room. It's a very compact design, modular. You can have 1, 2, 3 next to the other. So you can increase capacity from 5 to 15, 20 tons per hour, depending on the modules. Reliable, designed to work 24/7, just like a standalone pellet plant, and more economical because everything is pre-assembled, pre-wired in our shops. So when it gets to the site, it reduces a lot installation costs. And also you don't need a building because the container works as a building themselves, no? And mobile in the sense that you can disassemble it in the future and move it to a different location. When we are in capacities above 10 metric ton per hour, then your project has other constraints. So for instance, you will need to plan for the logistics of your raw material. If you have different raw materials, different wood species, you're going to have to blend them in your plant, no, before processing them. And you need to make sure that you're always blending them at the right rate. So also you need to think what you're going to do with the pellets, no? If probably you're going to have to store them for a longer period of time, or store them at the port in case you're using a port. Also, you will need some buffers in between the lines just to make sure that you increase the availability of the plant once, if for some, if you have some of the equipment under maintenance, for instance, the pellet mill, because you're changing tires, rollers, you want still to be running with the rest of the equipment, no? So in the third category of my presentation, we have other biomasses. Peanut hulls, for instance, we have a 25 metric ton plant working 100% with peanut hulls. Those pellets are being sold to Europe to be blended with wood, no? This project is not in the region that we are discussing, but it could be brought to the region. It's just as an example, no? That it would be very feasible in the region. And then we have other biomasses in which we work regularly. Agave bagasse, Oscar was talking about this in the past also. Cereal, straw, rice hulls, PSK, PKS, biomass, and others. No, the feasibility, normally these projects in our experience are more on the small side, somewhere in between 2 tons per hour, 5 tons per hour, and their feasibility has to be checked on a one-per-one basis, because there are many things that affect, like where are you selling the pellets to, how much are you paying for the raw material. So all this needs to be taken into account in the feasibility model. So this is a little bit of our experience in the region, Christian.
Thank you. That was excellent and a very nice overview of how wide the possibilities are really to use biomass to upgrade it by pelletization. There was a question in the chat on why would you pelletize bagasse if you could use it for cogeneration. Can you just say a little bit about that?
Yes.
If you use it directly for cogeneration.
No, absolutely. It's a super good question, and maybe it was not clear enough in my presentation. In that case, in those cases where is the bagasse is produced as the sugar mill and is burned over there, you don't need to produce pellets. You just you can burn it directly. No, that is what we are doing, and what our customers are doing. What we do is to dry it, to make more efficient the combustion process. But that's absolutely right. If you're not moving the pellets to a different location, I mean the product to a different location, and you're burning it directly there, you don't need to produce pellets.
Very good. And there was one final question just showing up in the chat, which was mentioning that the presentations we had this afternoon, they were mainly focused on the feedstock, not on the use of the pellets. And I think that's an important thing to address. If you want to use pellets, you are constrained by the technology that is available. So as soon as you go to agricultural pellets with high ash contents, typically you would rather use them in an industrial context, because industrial boilers are able to handle high ash fuel. There is one exception, and that is gasifying cook stoves. The gasifying cook stoves are quite insensitive to the ash content, and they work very well, for example, with bagasse pellets. And I think there is a huge promise in using bagasse as a feedstock across the world, not only in South America, also in Africa, in India, in Southeast Asia, as a feedstock to produce a high quality biomass fuel that can be used, especially also in domestic contexts. I think with that, we shall come to an end. I would like to thank all the presenters very much for taking their time and for giving us an insight in what is happening in pellet production in Latin America. And I would like to thank all our audience for attending, and I wish you a nice morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are. Hope to see you in the next webinar. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.